What's up, guys? Bipolar Boxing Picks here. This is Nick. I'm going to do a quick rundown for the UFC Gaethje versus Poirier main card. I don't do many breakdowns for the UFC. I do bet every single fight of every single week. But UFC is just a tougher sport for me. But, I crushed the card 2 weeks ago. I went 13-1 on one of the cards, which was really good. But, let's get into it here. This is just an awesome card, and I love the main card here. I love all these fights on the main card. So that's what I'm going to do a video here, and just a quick breakdown of each fight. So, starting off with the main card, you got Kevin Holland versus Michael Chiesa. And, these are two of my favorite fighters. And Chiesa, he trains his jiu-jitsu out of an affiliate of where my brother does jiu-jitsu. And I don't want to bet against him here, but Kevin Holland has been my guy since before he got in the UFC. When I heard the UFC was signing him, I was like, this is my guy here. I loved his kickboxing. The problem was he used to get taken down a lot. He's fixed that problem, and not only has he fixed it, he's been subbing dudes on the ground. I don't know if he'll get a sub here, but there's such a difference in the stand-up with these guys that I think Kevin Holland just wins a decision here. His stand-up is so good. He's so fast. He's going to be picking apart Chiesa. The question is if Chiesa can take a few punches and run him up against the fence and get a takedown, it's going to be a long night for Kevin Holland if he gets on his back. If Chiesa can do that in the first round, he might win the fight, but there's a chance he gets knocked out before he does that, and there's a chance he just gets picked apart. And Kevin Holland's takedown defense has been very good over a while. I believe his takedown percentage, his takedown defense percentage is like 50%, which isn't good. But a lot of that I think has to do with earlier in his career, and I think he's gotten a lot better at it. And Chiesa hasn't had a fight in a while. So, Chiesa really needs this fight too, but I think it's just a bad matchup for him. Holland's just way too fast and way too quick on his feet. And the only other way Chiesa could win too is Kevin Holland's he's just dumb sometimes. He's just got poor octagon IQ, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's just bad at times, and he makes bad decisions, and he might try some stupid kick and land up on his ass. And Chiesa could just hold him down there for the whole round and win 2 out of 3 rounds. But let's just assume none of that happens. I got to go with my guy, Kevin Holland. On to the next fight here. And I'm going to say Kevin Holland by decision. I'm going to go 3 rounds to none. Because if Chiesa wins a round, I think he took him down in that round. And he would get Holland tired. And he'll be able to take him down the next round or whatever. But I'm going to say 3 rounds to none for Kevin Holland. Next fight up, we got Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green. I was never a Tony Ferguson, as big as a Tony Ferguson fan as everybody else is when he was on that 14-fight winning streak. And I don't think he's going to beat Bobby Green here. I think Bobby Green is just going to maul him. Tony Ferguson's a wrestler, but I don't think he's going to be able to take Bobby Green down. And there's such a big difference on the feet. Like, a lot of the stuff that Tony throws is a lot of crazy stuff, the spinning back elbows and stuff. Like, Bobby Green ain't getting hit with none of that shit, and he's gonna pick him apart on the feet, and I think he's gonna knock Tony out in the second round. But I think that's gonna be a pretty easy fight for Bobby Green. The odds for that one though are pretty astronomical. I think Bobby Green's like a 4-1 favorite or something like that. So if you want to take a flyer and just thinking that, man, Tony Ferguson can't lose 6 fucking fights in a row. I think he can, but and I just don't know why they put him up against Bobby Green. It makes no sense. Bobby Green's so much better than him at this point in his career. I don't get it. You got to get this guy a win, Tony Ferguson, or you want to send him away like that, and then I just don't get it. Just get Tony Ferguson a win. Give him some young guy who's a prospect coming up. That way, it's a win-win situation where if Tony Ferguson wins, you get to kind of capitalize off that. But if that other guy beats Tony Ferguson, it kind of gets things rolling. But just a terrible matchmaking here by the UFC. I don't know what they were doing. But like I said, for gambling purposes, if you want to take a flyer on Tony Ferguson, I'm going to be the one putting Bobby Green in parlays and stuff like that. That's just what I do. I don't like betting guys straight up in the UFC. I do bet it all the time in boxing. I bet heavy favorites. I don't like doing it in the UFC straight up. I will be putting him on some parlays though. I'm not betting Tony Ferguson at this point. He's lost 5 fights in a row. Next fight is my favorite fight on the card. Michel Pereira and Stephen Thompson. Stephen Thompson was my guy. Once again, as soon as the UFC signed him, I was like, great, he's going to be knocking people. And then 3 fights into his UFC career or whatever, he freaking ran into Matt Brown. That fight cost me a lot of money. But I love Stephen Wonderboy's style. He's very difficult to take down because he's got that wide karate base, which you don't see in the UFC because it doesn't work for a lot of guys. It works for him. His timing, his speed is just, and that's the thing. Like his timing is probably in my eyes better than anyone in the UFC with his stand up. And he can counter punch, which I think he's going to do here. Pereira is one of my favorite fighters as well. But in this matchup, like I like Pereira better than Stephen Thompson as a fighter. I think he can beat some more of the top guys at this point in his career than Stephen Thompson. But with them going against each other, I think this is a terrible, and I've never bet against Pereira his whole UFC career, including Danny Roberts when he made his UFC debut. That's why I got so hyped on him, because I bet him as an underdog. He came through in spectacular fashion. Bet him, I think it was a pick'em fight against Nico Price. He demolished. Like, that's what this guy does. He's not going to be able to do that against Stephen Thompson. Like, all that stupid capoeira flying shit that he does, like, Stephen Thompson's going to pick him apart. Like, Stephen Thompson's one of the best kickboxers in all the world. You don't think he's seen stupid shit like that? He's not going to fall for that. And unfortunately, that's the way Pereira fights. He catches other guys with it. You're not going to be able to catch a tactician like Stephen Thompson with that. I'm sorry. I just don't see it. Like I said, Pereira's one of my favorite fighters. But I think this is a terrible matchup for him. When I saw this fight was announced, I was like, I'm going to get Stephen Thompson as an underdog. Unfortunately, they know what they're doing, the bookies, and they did put Thompson as like minus 170 or something like that, which I think he should be even higher. I think there's a lot of value on Stephen Thompson in this fight. But yeah, let's go with Stephen Thompson. I think he knocks him out in the second round. Here's another thing, guys. Like, this fight is... These fights are all at elevation in Salt Lake City, Utah, and there's certain guys on this card who do not have a good gas tank, like fat-ass Derek Lewis, Michel Pereira notoriously has a bad gas tank. That stupid fight with Christian Connolly cost me so much money where he gassed out. Like, he's been getting better, but I mean, it's an intangible to look at. If you do see this as a 50-50 fight, maybe that'll be something to just push it towards Thompson's way. But I can't see any way that Pereira wins this fight. I just can't. So give me Stephen Thompson by knockout. I'll say second round. This next fight, I mean, I don't know what to take here. But Alex Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz. Jan Blachowicz, I thought, was washed up like 8 freaking years ago. I just don't get it with that guy. He's so durable. He's got power in his hands. He can take you down. He can really do it all. And that light heavyweight division is just it's a circus that's been going around of all these different people that have been champions. And he had that great fight where Ankilov, where I thought that was a fight where I'm like, this is it. This is where Blachowicz is done. Ankilov's going to win the fight. And I thought Ankilov did win that fight. But, I mean... you can't count this Blachowicz guy out. But this is the thing here. We're like, Pereira, like, the only reason I'm picking him in this fight, it's a 50-50 fight even by the odds. It's like 115 on both sides. Pereira might be a slight favorite because he's kind of the guy right now, especially in that division. They need some new blood in there. So you would think the UFC is just trying to push him with, you got to give him a top 5 guy because after this you're going to put him in a title fight. So he has to beat somebody. And Blachowicz, I mean, you're waiting for him to go away. This could be the fight. And Blachowicz, like I said, he is a very durable guy, but I don't think anybody's going to be durable against Alex Pereira. Like, if he catches you, you're done. So I got to go with Pereira here, and I think he knocks Blachowicz out. It could be first round, it could be second round, third round, but I just think at some point Pereira will catch him. The only way I see Blachowicz winning this fight is if he takes Pereira down, which Pereira can be taken down. We saw that before, but He's been training with Glover Teixeira. That's the one thing that got me to switch, or actually pick a side in this fight. I'm like, well, usually and it's been like in history, I would always just go with the guy with the better ground game in a 50-50 matchup, because if he gets into the ground, you just tend to hold guys there, and Blachowicz will definitely do that if he gets the fight to the ground. But Pereira is so big, he's going to be a lot stronger at this weight class. So he's not going to be weight drained or anything like that. He's going to have strength and stamina with him. And I think he can stuff one or two of Blachowicz's takedowns before he gets the knockout. That's just the way. But Blachowicz, that's definitely his route to victory, is get this thing to the ground. Or hey, he's got haymakers too. I mean, he could definitely put Pereira out with one punch. But Pereira's definitely the better striker here, and I think he's just going to pick Jan apart, and he's going to knock him out. And I think it's going to be in spectacular fashion, and everyone's going to want to see him versus Yuri. That's going to be the fight to make at some point later this year or next year. But we'll go with Pereira by knockout. And then we got the main event. We got Mickey Ward versus Arturo Gatti. No, just playing. But I even got my Arturo Gatti shirt on today. But man, this is a fight. Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. I don't bet against Gaethje. I love him. Going back to those fights he had against Luis Firmino, and I forget what organization that even was. It's not even around anymore. But like, I loved Gaethje back in the day. I love his fight style. He actually did a lot better than I was expecting in his UFC career. His style I did not think would work in the UFC. I just thought he would eventually get knocked out. And it's happened here and there, but I mean, it's working pretty good. And like, going back to the first fight, Gaethje and Poirier, I mean, I definitely bet Gaethje in that fight, and because I'm not big on Poirier, I just think he's one of those guys, like the well-rounded guy, but he's not great at anything. He's great at being very good at everything, is what he is. And I tend to not pick those guys when they get up to the top echelon of their weight class. So I didn't pick him against Gaethje, and he knocked Gaethje out. And Gaethje was doing his thing in that fight. He did his thing. He fought the way he fought, and he still lost. That's the thing. When Gaethje loses, he's still implementing his game plan. He just still loses, and he gets knocked out. But there's certain things about Gaethje. Like, he always says, like, I only train for, I think he said 17 minutes. He trains to put in a hard 17 minutes. And if that guy's left standing after 17 minutes, so be it, and I'm probably going down, but I don't think the guy's going to make it 17 minutes. I'm going to inflict my will on this person, and I'm going to take his soul. But a guy like Poirier, you can't do it with. And I can't see anything else happen different than the first fight. Poirier's just going to knock him out. The other thing is, I think if this fight goes to the ground, I think Poirier's got a better ground game. I mean, Gaethje, we've all been waiting to see that stupid ground game of him. I don't think it's ever going to happen in the rest of his career. He just doesn't use it enough. So I can't say. And my problem is, he doesn't use it enough, so you don't know how good it is. It could be great in training or whatever, but if you don't use it in fights, I don't know how good it is. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Poirier is better on the ground with him if the fight goes there. He's got that. I think he could submit Gaethje. But we also saw in the first fight, he could also knock him out. And that's just what I see here. I think he's going to knock Justin Gaethje out. Poirier's been in some wars too, but Gaethje's just been in too many battles, man. And I don't like to see it. And his durability is just going to go down. And just give me Poirier by knockout here. And I also think that Poirier is closer to the top than Gaethje. If Gaethje wins here, I don't think he's going to get a title fight. I think they're just going to keep putting him in high-profile fights, but I don't think he'll get a title fight. Poirier, if he loses here, he'll probably retire. But if not, I mean, I think he goes. He can make his way back up the top very easily. I've been waiting to see somebody fight Teixeira, at 155, or like a fighter like that. Maybe you give him that fight and then a title shot or something like that. But yeah, just give me Poirier by knockout. And now I'm gonna say, I gotta pick a round. I'm gonna say round 2. I'm gonna say round 2 he gets it done. If it was a first fight, I would say like round 3 or 4 he knocks him out, because it would take some time. But these guys know each other, so I just think the banging's gonna start very early. Pause. But just give me Poirier by knockout. second round, and rest in peace, Justin Gaethje, because it's going to be another beating. It's going to be another few years off his leg. But I mean, this fight card is awesome, and I'm going to look forward to seeing it. I mean, unfortunately, I'm a boxing fan, so I got to watch Crawford versus Spence. Hopefully, they will figure out a way with. I didn't check the time to see if maybe they're trying to not have this fight on the same time as Spence versus Crawford. But I mean, I would hope that they would not show this fight at the same time and maybe go a little later. But we'll see what happens. Just enjoy the card, guys. There's going to be a lot of good fights on this card, but it's a very tough card to bet. All these odds are very like I think Bobby Green might be the biggest favorite on the card, and he's facing Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson's the biggest dog on the card. You know, what does that tell you? But great card, and the BMF title goes to Dustin Poirier. Have a good one, guys.